There is still one piece of the puzzle in the woodyard here that I need to solve for. And that is, where do I buck up the logs into rounds? I have a couple different options and a couple different ideas of how and where to do this, but I'm just not sure yet exactly what's going to be the best approach. And the reason is because when I get logs dropped off by Rick, he'll drive in and I've got a couple different drop zones that I'm going to be able to utilize. You can see back there, obviously there's piles of logs. Hopefully those will be gone here in the next few weeks. So that's one area he can dump. This is another area he can drop where he did drop off some maple. And then further back, I've got another area right here where he's dropped off a load of ash. The challenge I run into is I get pieces that are 4 to 6 feet long, and I get logs that are 10 to 12 feet long. So that's why, like, using something like a bucking platform, it depends on which way you lay it out. So like Mountaintop Outdoors, Patty and Jeff out there, what they do is they lay 2 logs the long way, and then they roll their logs onto that little platform, cut like 3/4 the way through, roll it off, finish bucking it. The problem I have is, like I just showed you, some of my logs are shorter, so they wouldn't necessarily fit on that type of platform. Now the other option is to lay 2 logs the long way parallel with the logs that you are bucking, and then buck right on top of that. And the whole point here is to obviously not be cutting on the ground. The problem with this is, if I were to put something like this over there in the shelter, that is going to pretty much eliminate me being able to drive through the shelter if I needed to. So you can see right now I've got a couple of logs over here. If I had something permanent in here, that would always be blocking my way of, being able to drive in here, park the tractor, drive in, drop off rounds or logs. So I'm not sure I want to tie up something permanently inside the shelter. I do have this area back here now with this shelter moved over that I could set up some type of bucking platform station where I could have some logs, cut the rounds, and then all I would have to do is move them either manually or with the tractor from right here to right there. So I don't know, like I said, there's all these things swirling around in my mind. I think the best thing to do right now is just ponder these thoughts, ponder these options, and run the saw and kind of clear my mind, free my mind to maybe make a decision and then change that decision in a week or two and then change it again. We'll see what happens. that last log there, I'm just gonna leave for now because he's sitting up there kind of cockeyed and at an angle, and I just want to try to get him a little flatter, maybe move him down before I buck that thing up. And it actually is he's kind of knotty, not really the best looking log. Gonna be some gnarly pieces coming out of that one. This one here was a little tough cutting through too, with going across the grain there, and there were some knots in that one. But yeah, it's if a log is sitting like that at an angle, I'd rather straighten it out before cutting through it. Because if you run a box wedge, there is one thing you will notice and pay special attention to when bucking up your rounds. The more vertical your cuts are, the better they go through the wedge. Anytime you have a slight angle to your cut, where the push plate is like hitting that round, if there's an angle to it, it can either make the wood nosedive down into the wedge, and then you're splitting across the grain. So as vertical as you can make your cuts, the better with a box wedge. So we got these big rounds now all bucked up to go along with these chunks. I think this log right here, this might be the biggest round to go through the wedge, the box wedge on the 37D yet. That thing was probably about 26, 27 inches. I don't know, I had my 25-inch bar deep in it, and it would not cut all the way through. So yeah, we'll have to see. Coming up here, not right now, but in the future, we'll get those big boys up there on the Easton-made 37D. All right, so we'll see. I'm going to keep experimenting with a few different options as far as bucking up and processing logs into rounds. Like I said, this doesn't work out too bad. Let me know down in the comments if you have any suggestions, or if you've tried different things as far as bucking rounds further away from the splitter and then moving the rounds, or if it's better to move the logs. Ideally, I'd like to keep the forks on the tractor so that way if I do need to pick any logs up and like put them on a platform, you know, then I don't have to switch to the bucket to move the rounds. And that's where maybe I'll just use the pallets like I did with these chunks, and I can just put the rounds on a pallet, bring the pallet in. I don't know, we'll see. Like I said, I'll probably try a few things and I'll probably change it, but let me know down in the comments, if you have any suggestions or feedback. And yes, I know a grapple would solve a lot of these problems, or answer a lot of these questions, or put a lot of the pieces of the puzzle in place if I had a grapple. Maybe. And that's maybe it would solve the problems, not maybe I'm getting one. Or then again, maybe I am.